form, but as we've said, G2 have not had terrible performances here recently either, so it could be, as you say, another one in that catalogue of games and classics that we've seen between these two rosters.
I really feel that we need to actually blow these candles out now, because this is about to melt down to nothing. I tell you what, let's do it. It's like a birthday. I don't know whose birthday it is. Oh, I'm not going to turn mine off. There we go. So you should have kept yours off.
I was saving everybody's ears rather than blowing into my microphone.
How often do you hear Ace and Des blow down a microphone? Not very.
Couple of times a week if you watch it, you own it back.
More than a couple, I'm sure. However, our bans are flying through. Capital taken away by Empire against G2, a team that we have seen Hungary use that a number of times for breaking catwalk holds, for example. A smart ban in my books, followed up by the Valkyrie, plus a Thatcher that was initially banned away by G2.
Looking at that form coming into it as well is fascinating, Des. You know, you feel like one team is on the up and one has been struggling, but identical form coming into it for these two teams, and it really does put us on the precipice of a potentially huge encounter between these two, and we're going to get things underway. G2 will be kicking us off on the defence. They'll do so without the Valkyrie and without the Wamai, both pretty common bans as of late. And we're going to have Empire on the attacking side. Just having a look at the operators that are populating those boxes right now, and not seeing anything too wild jump off the screen at the minute.
Not just yet, no, but we'll wait, of course, until we get into the round, because often it's not the operators themselves, it's what the teams are looking to do with them. Now, looking, of course, on the side of the attackers, Empire here, you've got those two hard breaches you'd often see on this map. Habana, the Queen of Hatches, joined by the Maverick, and a 6-bit coming in at the last second for Hungary, who moves across from the Legion onto the Mirror for a gym bedroom start. Expect we'll see those mirrors going down, one facing out towards Jacuzzi from the bathroom, the second likely set up inside of logistics, looking south into construction. That is the normal setup that we often see on this site.
Just, you know, whilst we've got our spooky setup in the studio, Des, do you know what Ghost's like for dessert?
Oh no, it's one of those days. What do they like, Tim?
They like ice cream, Des! Here we go, we're in. We are up to speed.
I watched Fresh and it took him about 3 seconds to process that one.
We're in. We are rolling. Get yourself ready, strap in for some Halloween puns that I'm sure will be coming your way. Des is fascinated, I think, by the fact that I'm still casting in my hat.
No, I'm more fascinated by the fact that you're still holding the cane.
I love the cane. I feel like it's becoming part of my personality. Up on the top floor, we're going to have Jonka just applying that Kaid Electroclaw onto the Jacuzzi wall. So they are preempting, of course, the push coming in from that side from Empire. But right now, most of the focus is over towards the east side. Des, again, not terribly unusual. Get into the east side, take over construction particularly, push past CCTV and cash, clear that out. And it allows you to play on the south-sided windows as well.
And they go getting this opened up. Normally you'd see the Habana focused out here, looking to open it up, just to give you enough of an angle that you can see onto the west window that faces out of the server wall and out onto that south balcony. Gives the attackers more opportunity to make use of that. But here, it's done by the Maverick. 45 seconds in, it's finally been opened up, and you've still got Virtue looking to be a little bit cheeky. Normally, you'd see a couple of players hold up inside of Cash and looking to waste a bit of time, but this is forcing a good chunk of utility out of Empire already, and time. 60 seconds in, Virtue still holding electrified Cash wall. They've also got the mirror window to step back behind as well. There are a lot of layers to this defense coming out of the side of G2. And I'd say so far, not a bad amount of time wasted.
Not at all. They're looking reasonably solid. They've not sort of over-aggressed and taken any unnecessary early fights. Dan has been able to get himself established on the south windows, obviously feeling relatively comfortable now that Sider's inside of CCTV. It's just going to prevent Virtue pushing down and challenging him from that window. So Dan can be pretty comfortable. Virtue's been forced back now, Des. So Empire have pretty much got that east side under control. They can start putting pressure on towards site. So whilst G2 have wasted good time, Empire still have plenty left to work with.
They still have the control of the map they need. Yeah, it just looks a little bit slower and maybe isn't moving at the pace they'd be wanting just yet. We know that Empire historically have been a slow team against some opponents. I think here with the amount that you have to get done, you can understand if this one also ends up looking a little bit long and drawn out. They're still not yet able to get rid of the mirror window, but no concerns when you have a lovely hole just sat underneath it. In fact, Joystick, he's going up nice and close here, maybe looking to find his way through, hoping that someone is going to swing on, but he'll be delighted to know from the drone in front of him there is no one holding inside of Logistics. So surely the push starts to come in here. We've got 40 seconds still to play with, Tim, and no one has yet died.
Needed to get themselves inside of Logistics there because it was a bit of a nightmare position. It was very easy for the flank to come through. Joystick, you see his leg, but he just manages to get away with that one. Jonker finds an opener onto Always there. Empire pushing into Logistics in numbers now. There's 25 seconds left to go and the kills start to rain in. Joystick and Shepard managing to get 2 back for the Russian side to put them at the man advantage 4 versus 2 now, as Shepard gets himself a second and he's almost doing everything as he gets in and starts getting that diffuser down. It's going to be another successful plant for Shepard now then. Citizen, he has something to say about it, but he's going to need to find a lot more words, Des. He's in a terrifying position right now. 1 versus 3. This is not going to be easy. He sees the man on the single door, but he dips away. He knows they're going to be on the window. Shut down through the peak hole by Shepard. 3 kills and a plant for him in the round, and that is great support play.
I love how your gesturing has gone beyond hands, and now the cane is the extension of your body.
Really?
Just pointing at everything.
Emphasis.
Very strong and potentially bonking energy. I love it. I've got to talk about that round a bit more and how things played out at the kind of dying moments really for Empire. There was 30 seconds on the clock. The push comes in. 3 force their way through Logistics. G2 do not win a single gunfight, bar the 1 kill that came in from Citizen on his later round rotate back up main stairs. Everyone else lost gunfights, and even if Empire had lost one, they still had the ability to trade because there were 3 stepping on their way through. So it seems like the horrors of the previous Playdays for G2, the inability to win these gunfights is still standing up for them, at least in round 1. Let's see if Bar Stage does any differently. I expect we will see a very similar setup to what we saw in the prior round. Given many teams do bring the mirror up to the top floor, you'll have one facing out towards Jacuzzi, one looking down towards Construction, which enables those playing on the vertical holes upstairs to, play a bit more comfortably. You haven't got to worry about someone sprinting at you through Jacuzzi or coming marching on through Construction. It should make life a little more comfortable, although with the number of weeks that we've now seen Bar and Stage being played, you'd imagine Empire have got a response.
I'm interested to see on the defence here, Des, whether we have the deployable shield played in the middle of Bar. If you remember, it's G2 that played with Kayak on the mirror in Bar, basically next to the main Bar area, just looking onto that plant spot, because there is a plant spot at the top right of your screen now by the speakers and guitar up there, where it's not really easily challenged from above, and that's become a bit of a go-to plant spot. So what G2 did was they played Kayak slap bang in the middle of Bar. They put him a deployable shield there, and he just had to hold on to that position with his life, and it gave him an easy peek onto that spot. And when the shield was cleared out, he pushed up to Jukebox and played just behind that corner. And it was actually a really impactful defence, and it was a very difficult position for the attackers to deal with. So I'm interested to see whether Kayak goes to that position again, or whether G2 think, they've had time to prep for that. They're going to be already having a strategy in mind to clear that position out, and maybe he doesn't. At the minute, it looks like he's sticking to the top floor.
Some more savvy Siege savants maybe looking at this round and thinking, oh, okay, this looks very similar to the prior. They read the run out from Citizen 2. It is very similar to the previous round. It's much like when you're attacking Cafe and you've just played into Bar and Cocktail. Maybe you've won or lost, and the defenders move down to Reading and Fireplace. The attacks look almost identical as they did in the prior round to this one. They want the same control. They want the top floor control before they think about and execute, which if you're in G2's books, you're thinking, great, we can run that clock even lower. But Empire have moved with pace. They've dealt with a run out. They've won the vertical versus Kayak, who was holding on the mirror. That now means Logistics is clear, and in almost half the time, Empire have got the map control they were looking for. Virtue's still hanging around on the top floor, but if he loses his life here, it's a 5 versus 2 looking into a site execute. And I don't know about you, Tim, but I'm not fancying G2 to be the ones who come out on top if it does go down to that 5 versus 2.
Absolutely not at the moment now then, Sider. He's looking to push in towards this bathroom position. Virtue on the Jaeger there, just trying to hold back behind that mirror and just use the peak hole to the side of it, but he knows that his moments are numbered and he's going to have to dip away from that position as the Maverick opens up the Jacuzzi wall. 1 minute left to go, and G2, they managed to get themselves a kill, Des, and that is really important. It brings it back to 4 versus 3 now.
A lack of awareness maybe from Empire. That hole was present in the prior round, if you remember. Even saw his leg, but didn't get the shot off from above. And they've just walked over the same hole and lost a life to it. So a small thing to note for Empire there is what G2 like to do when they're playing on this setup. Here comes a swing in from the main door, though. Yonka losing this one out to Joystick on 4. unfortunately. 40 seconds to play in a 4 versus 2. Surely Empire cannot walk away the losers in this round. But Hungary has got the long angle onto the main door. He's got all 3 smoke canisters still in back pocket. He has got the tools to stall this attack out for long enough, given we're now down to 25. But the plant is going down. Shepard starting to stick it. Surely Hungary lands these shots. He misses them and Joystick wins. This is what I mean about not winning gunfights. Virtue, the last man left standing in a 1 versus 4, and Joystick wins yet another. It goes from bad to worse for the members of G2, seemingly unable to win a gunfight across these 2 rounds.
Fantastic start from Team Empire. They've been able to lock down the top floor, the mid floor. You're looking at this and thinking, is there any attack that they can't win, Des? They're going to have an attempt at the next floor down as G2 just trickle down and down and down as the life force is just sucked out of them round by round here by Team Empire as they just keep going. They're going to head all the way down to the basement this time, G2. It's going to be Church and Arsenal, and it's a very similar lineup. They've got the Legion this time on the side of Citizen. He didn't last long last time around with that attempted run out. And an operator like Legion, you got to have him in there for the round, Des. You got to have him for as long as possible because those goo mines, they are generating over time and they could be really important in slowing down, particularly a side like Empire, who we know often fall foul of the clock late in the round. You come down to site, 20 seconds to an execute, sting, 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 goo mine after goo mine. It could be pivotal.
It could be against a team that historically, again, is quite slow on their attack, so I'll give you that. But let's not forget Citizen was on the Aruni in the prior round. That's why his attempted run-out came through, dropped the utility, make the run-out attempt. And unfortunately, it came back to bite them on the downstairs. Maybe he plays more passive on the Legion, but knowing Citizen, he likes playing this more kind of perimeter player is what I call him. He's not a site player, but he doesn't go wild off on the roam very often, apart from in the previous round where he went for the run out. But it's the kind of player who, as we've seen on maps like Chalet, will play a smoke with a shield and an FMG and hold somewhere like Mezzanine. That's the style of play that he likes to go for. And I think Empire are probably a bit tuned into that, right? They know that he is the main threat on this team. They deal with Citizen. They remove a good half of the threat on that G2 side.
So coming into round 3 then.
I cannot get used to Fresh walking around the studio looking like that. Honestly.
Absolutely, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's incredible.
I think we've got to give a shout out to the 2 makeup artists who've come in and done
phenomenal.
They deserve the biggest shout. The work has been absolutely incredible. They were watching the broadcast earlier, so hopefully they still are. Thank you so much for the work. It's been brilliant.
They've taken videos, really a bunch of us to kind of show off their work. Bless them. They were sat there taking pictures of the TV in the green room of the shot broadcast being on. Yeah, it's very, very cute.
They were really impressed with it, and to be honest, we've been really impressed with their work. It's been fantastic. I'm sure you all agree. So getting back to the action then, we are a minute in here. No early opener for Empire this time. Citizen's managed to keep his life. That punishment on the run out has maybe just tempered his aggression a little bit. Empire getting in reasonably quickly to the top floor. I think they're fairly confident. We've got drones racing around the feet of Joystick as much as they can do. Obviously the mute jammer's going to do a little bit of work there just to prevent them being able to go through. So Joystick's just going to sweep across the rest of the top floor. But I think at this point they're reasonably comfortable, our Empire, that they've got at least 90% control over this top floor. Joystick just applying the finishing touches to that roam clearance. G2 are all back on site. 1 minute and a half left to go. Empire now need to start getting onto that mid floor. Thank you, Dan. Perfectly timed, as I say. Think about getting the hatches opened, which is exactly what they do. Coming up towards that final minute mark, we haven't lost a man yet. And Empire just being a little bit tentative here, Des. 1 minute 10 left to go.
Yep.
They need to get a little bit more access. They need to start pressuring G2 now.
It's these hatches, because those are also the first X-Kairos coming out, and they're already being shot out and deal with here. They've lost a couple already through the hole that was already on the hatch. But the problem is with the Habana, of course, she now has the option of 2, has done for about a year or so, and can just keep on cycling through those. And you cannot deal with that 9 times over. It's a little bit excessive. But clearly the focus for the side of Empire is going to be this kitchen hatch, because you've got 2 looking to push down blue, 2 or 3 hanging around kitchen, vertical work being done. I'm thinking, is there going to be a push down through dirt? And I feel at this point it's a little bit too late for that rotation to come in. So it's going to be a blue and hatch drop coming in. So you're hoping on the blue players to get the control inside of dirt as well as inside of blue itself. And here's where the attempt comes through. Grenades singing on down as we hit the 20-second mark.
Here comes the final push then. There's absolutely no choice now for Empire. It's time to go, and this is where Goo Mines could come in clutch, as I said. Dan, however, comes in bigger with 2 kills of his own. make that 3. Scyther gets one in the mix, and it's 1v4. Shepard's getting that diffuser down, as he always will, but he won't need to as Scyther goes in there and gets that final kill. And right now, Des, this is absolutely ghoulish as Empire just run over G2 in the first 3 rounds.
I feel like I've said it enough
in this game, not able to get a round off of Empire, and I just don't know where that turnaround is going to come from. I've sort of lost faith. G2 were one of those teams, that you believed it could be done, you know, whether that be from historic matches or recent matches. You just believe that they had the ability there to do it, and right now, if they go 5-1 down, 6-0 down at the half, do I believe they're a team who can turn that around right now? I gotta say, in honesty, I don't.
No, I mean, we've seen teams pull out magic, right? I mean, who was it last stage? I want to say it was Secret. We're down like 0-4, had a timeout, and came back and won like 6 rounds in a row. Forget if it was Secret or if it was Rogue or someone along those lines. But we've seen what timeouts can do for teams. The problem is, over the last few Playdays, I've felt their impact hasn't necessarily been as strong. Bar maybe BDS coming up against Rogue. That was a very, very different conversation. BDS versus Kavana, sorry, I suppose I should say. This one needs to work for them. I don't know what they can fix in a timeout about the gun skill. But otherwise, you know, the time being taken by Empire was seeing the clock run down. It wasn't awful. So maybe there's some hope here. Maybe they've got the secret key in that timeout. But being truthfully honest with you, Tim, I'm not very optimistic.
This is it. I'm just not convinced. You know, would I like to see it? Would everybody like to see it? I'm sure we would. You know,
4 kills, 3 rounds.
It's just not screaming that it's possible, is it? That's the point here. And, you know, that's certainly not to specifically lean towards G2, but I'd just love to see entertaining games, and to see them be able to get back into this one would be great. But they just haven't shown any signs or glimmers of it yet. So we'll see in round 4 whether this can be the kickstart that they need. They're going to come in on that top floor once again, Des, and they've got to find a way here, otherwise it's going to be critical.
Imagine you get to the half and they were, say, 6-0 down, and that was on the defensive clubhouse as well. Would not be the Mapsy walking away with something like that. As always, Empire getting the Maverick up onto this wall and starting to try and bleed their way through. And here comes the Butlers to make sure things are cleared out very quickly and clinically. So again, it's a return to what we saw back in round 1 with the gym bedroom attack. Empire, you'd assume, will be able to speed things up a little bit here. And as commented earlier, for G2, there's got to be something special. Some magic change here in winning some critical gunfights, because even Citizen lurking off around the map, making his appearance towards the dying moments last time round, only found a single kill. Simply was not enough.
Far from getting better. It certainly seems that things are getting worse right now. Always goes in, just going to start taking that utility out. He's able to walk in and out of CCTV before they start pressuring onto construction. Empire at the halfway mark here. They're going to start getting walls opened up. They need to get some lines of sight into construction, because G2 are playing this quite high at the minute. They've got a player on red stairs. They've got Citizen chipping away through the angle there. Virtue's going to continue to cause a nuisance of himself. He's going to move back into CCTV, but what a nade comes in through that hole that had been opened up, I think, by G2 as part of the defensive setup. And they're going to lose Kayak along the way as well, and it's 4 versus 3 all of a sudden. Team Empire once again in the ascendancy here.
A single one coming back from Citizen. Shock horror. We've been saying this for weeks, it feels like, about him. Now, they've got themselves back in a 4 versus 3. It's not the best roam. Okay, you burnt through about 90 seconds or so, and now Empire have still got to deal with getting Jacuzzi open, which is what you're going to see Shepard and Always move over to deal with. One pushing in from logistics. Last time it was 2 or 3 pushing inside of there. I imagine really Always wants 1 or 2 more to support him on this push-in. It's not really the kind of angle you want one person pushing in through. But on the sheer basis of it being opened up, the hatch being broken open, it always puts that what if in the mind of G2. What if someone comes to push us there? But it's Joystick once again moving his way up through construction. He's kind of the point man here. We're down looking to push on the south side. They've got a 3 or 4 angles set up on the looks of things. The question is, can they find these last couple of members? Seized ahead, but very fortunate to keep his life there. Citizen finally put down. That's the man that you want. The 4 versus 2 in play. The nade coming in over the top. Hungry finds one onto Joystick, and Hungry, no, not falling down. Citizen is down, almost out. A double kill coming in for Hungry. My God, he's fancying himself a snack, and Empire look pretty tasty right now. Plant surely to come through. They see the one man. The kill coming in from Shepard, but where's the last? G2 win it out. They can't get the plant down in time, and finally, there is a round on the board for G2.
Better from G2. They were able to frustrate Empire in that round, Des. There was just no real way in. The challenges kept coming from G2, but they were patient. They didn't overextend. They didn't over-aggress, and they just burnt away the time. And how is the method? What is the method to beat a team like Empire? It is to burn time. Don't go in and try and take gunfights necessarily. We know that online, sometimes, yes, you can get some success with that, but if you frustrate them out of an extra 20 or 30 seconds, you will almost always find that Empire leave themselves short of time for that final execution, because they are generally coming in with one shot. They are generally coming in with 15 to 20 seconds left when they are thinking about getting that diffuser down, and G2 seem to understand that well. They manipulated the round well, and that was the start that they needed. 1-3 now.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 versus 1 at the very end as well, because Citizen was down. I believe he was one of the last 2 there, didn't get finished off. But Hungry, the man of the hour, with 2 big kills to keep them alive in the 4 versus 2, and at least guarantees them 1 round on the board. However, the one thing I will say is it wasn't convincing. That's what we need to see, is a convincing round win from G2 to show they are here and ready to give some fights. Here, hopefully, we're going to see something a bit more convincing, as again, it's again like attacking Cafe. If you're trying to go towards reading Fireplace, you've got to do all the stuff you do to clear Gym Bedroom and then worry about the potential execute on site. Hungry was not dealt with inside a kitchen playing on the smoke last time around, so although he's on the pulse, I'm hoping that at the very least he can feed a bit of information back and forth to the team, be the terror of main stairs or kitchen, wherever he chooses to play. And hopefully for Empire, they are more conscious of the hole that is normally opened up just inside logistics. Although there's still a bit of setup work to do, because there's still Kayak with his mirror window on side here. He could be a little bit behind time, because that means they have not got a hold right now inside of construction. Finally will get done, but 25 seconds into the round, you'd wager maybe a little bit slow.
Potentially, we do see teams setups extending into the action phase, and there is a lot of work to be done, but as you say, you know, something to be aware of. Something that other teams may see, and should they play Clubhouse again in future, might think, actually, let's just rush to that window and let's aggress onto it and make his life difficult. But as it is, Kayak gets his job done. Shepard's going to be immediately on to opening construction up, just giving an angle there for the nades potentially to fly in. We'll see if that happens. He's going to try and land them in behind the mirror window potentially. You can just take a bounce off the wall. Here comes Dan looking to burn out any utility like the ADSs that might just keep the mirror safe. Kayak, he's aware of this. He's dipped away. In comes one nade. Will there be a second? I don't think another one is going to follow for the time being. Yeah,
surely Sider gets round here now and pops out this mirror window to force Kayak away. At the same time, someone can once again open up that logistics hatch, just give some concern to Kayak that someone might pop in behind him, force him to fall back, and so on and so forth. We've seen it a million times. Hungry is down the basement here as well, so he can feed that info back and forth if he gets himself in the right spot. Sider's still all the way out towards red stairs here as well, maybe going on the roam, trying to find Hungry. You've got to be mindful that you are pushing into a cardiac sensor, so may have a very good eye as to where exactly he is on this push forward. Always bringing down Kayak from the hatch, and that's logistics cleared out once again.
Power position though, because now that allows Empire to push into construction and to start just increasing the pressure across that top floor. Hungry all the way down in the basement for the time being with that pulse heartbeat scanner, but as you say, Des, a flank drone is almost certainly going to pick him up here, and they'll be aware that the pulse is down underneath.
Shepard's seen him.
Shepard's definitely seen him there. Joystick just looking to cover the angle, not going to have him pushing through lounge, but he could come underneath here. This is a game of deadly cat and mouse here, Des, between Joystick and Hungry.
The problem is you're in numbers advantage as Empire, so while this chase is going on in the 1 versus 1, it means there's only 3 playing on site and 4 members of Empire to make that push forwards. Now those vertical angles being opened up, so they have got the control, albeit quite slowly again. A C4 coming out from Yonka finds no one. Worth mentioning, of course, with Kayak being down, that's another C4 off the board they will not have the option to use. And now we're coming down to 25 seconds. Empire again, seeing that clock running lower and lower, need to make something happen. Joystick with 1, it's a 5 versus 3.
G2 could well win this in the same method as they did the last, but Virtue, there's a man inside of Billiards here. The challenge is going to come in. Sider takes a lot of damage, but this time, Des, Shepard have been able to get to a man count position to allow them to get the diffuser down. So he's going to go in there and get that done, but it's flawless by the time things are finished. I just thought when there was 18 seconds left, it's 3 versus 5, I thought maybe, just maybe, G2 have burnt enough time to hold on to this one. But no, Empire, they just had them encircled, and it was just a matter of time until they picked them apart one at a time. And now it's 4-1 on the scoreboard to Team Empire.
It had everything that round, right? It had Empire running out of time, it had G2 losing gunfights, and it's always the question of what comes first, the clock hitting 0 or G2 losing 5 gunfights. And unfortunately in that round, I think even without winning all 5, 4 was enough in a 5 versus 1, a flawless round to re-establish dominance and remind G2 that this is their night shift, this is their hell, and this is their terror. Final round we go into on the defensive side for G2 is going to be in the basement. Now, hopefully we see some success coming in, but if you remember previously, Empire pushed in at about 20 seconds prior, got the 3K, and suddenly the round was away and rolling. Maybe this one proves to be exactly the same.
Kayak straight away up into the kitchen, just getting that hatch reinforced.
7 kills in 5 rounds, by the way.
This is it. It's just, I mean, that could be one player, Des. That could be one player. We've got 7 on the side of Empire just for Dan. Yeah. Dan has killed as many, and we say this countless times, it is not all about kills. You know, this is an Empire side that have got, or very nearly got, the diffuser down in at least 3 rounds out of 5 so far. They're playing the objective game, and yes, there are more than one, you know, there's more than one way to win a round in Siege. It's not all about the kills. But 7 in 5 rounds as your entire team ain't going to cut it, especially when Dan has got that many just by himself.
It is frustrating. Let's see how this starts out. Is it going to be a full map clear? Because surely they've spotted the fact that it is I don't want to say it's an SSG roam because it's not got all the hallmarks of it. There's no castle, there's no vigil. It's a little bit more hunkered down in the basement, looking at things like the Kaid. You've got the mirror play as well. You've got the smoke to rely on. So really, it's just the Mutant Mozzie setting up on the top floor, and by the looks of it, engineering to waste time as everyone is now back on site. So it's we don't want to lose out on the roam as we have done now every single round. Recall back to last round, losing 2 on the roam and only finding 1. This is more of right, let's see if we can waste some Empire time by getting them to go and push around the top floor, because those pests, those mute jammers are going to leave them wondering, is there someone actually on the top floor, or is it a bait? You can't be sure, and in Siege you can't really afford to take risks like that in not clearing out the top floor. So
for a team that we talk about time a lot being Empire, G2 have given up the entire map here apart from the basement floor inside of 30 seconds. It was 2 minutes 30 was the mark where everybody was pushing back downstairs. So I want to see Team Empire take full advantage of that. They've got the drones there, they've been held up by the jammers, they've been held up by the pests, but they're already sweeping across that mid floor, and I like to see this, Des. Empire are not messing about here. They've got themselves in, they've recognised quickly that that is the case. Let's not forget, Des, if there's mute jammers and pests up on the top floor, it means there's fewer on the basement. So if the drones can't clear the top floor, they can certainly go into the basement potentially and have a little look. And as soon as you start picking up that there's 5 players down there, you can start moving forward aggressively, always doing exactly that, getting himself into kitchen corridor and kitchen, open up those vertical angles. He's just looking to prevent the nitro play from underneath so that they can start thinking about getting that hatch open maybe. There'll be a grenade will go in to clear the electrical off, and they'll try to get this kitchen hatch working for them.
Yeah, so the hammer swung first at about the 135 mark, so plenty of time. It's been removed away. So Shepard now should be able to get in a spot to start opening things up, and there's a bit of change for Empire. Dan pushing his way down dirt. Kayak appears to be aware. Has chewed through 2 of those smokes so far. 1 still remaining. Will find himself full flash here as he backs his way in. And Dan, oh my, he's trying to rush in. Shotgun versus shotgun. Who wins out? It's the Skeleton Key. So aptly named on a day like today.
Dan!
A double onto Virtue, and that is the control that we were worried about. They couldn't find it in the prior round. It wasn't their focus. Here it's different, but it's Citizen. Did he see the second man? Surely he knows, but the plant's already being stuck. It's too late at this point. A 4 versus 3, and Citizen sees the man, but always does not miss. He always lands those, you might say. C4 comes out a little bit misplaced, unfortunately. However, does find it onto Shepard. A 3 versus 2. About 20 seconds to work with here on the side of G2 for only Hungry and Yonka, who have still got it all to do.
Certainly a lot of work for them. We've got Joystick just holding the angle in behind boxes. Surely he finds the first. No, he manages to get the down, though. That is important and unfortunate for Jonker. It's Hungry who actually covers his man and gets the kill, but right now there's one up inside kitchen. Des, it's going to be too little too late. Hungry's got no option here but to try and just bait him out with a little flick onto the diffuser, and that is going to be the end. What a play from Dan inside of Dirt Tunnel, just going from Skeleton Key, flick onto his rifle, bang, headshot down through blue coat. Absolutely unreal play from him.
It's another one of those rounds where, again, G2 have been outclassed when you look at the way the gunfights are played out. Again, it's one of those times where you look at, I don't want to call out specific people here, but some look at the game like a game of chess and will say, well, the player won't push because there's smoke deployed, and you've got this angle from blue to watch the man. That all goes out the window. As soon as a player can push down dirt, kill the man holding you who's got a shotgun at a close angle, and instantly bang the guy in blue. That just flips the whole round entirely on its head, and rightly so. Empire sprung into action. Citizen trying his best yet again on the flank to find a kill or 2 to really shut things down, but it simply wasn't enough. And here is the replay. The Skeleton Key kill, straight switch onto the rifle as you commented, and from there it was beautiful. All too easy, because again this removed all the control that they had. Look, there you go, the pre-fire coming in.
Boxes.
Finds Virtue, close out. Blue is empty, dirt is empty. The site is basically fully exposed, and it's all too easy for Empire.
He opened them up like a tin of beans, Des. Simple as that. He just went in there and just absolutely crowbarred that defence wide open.
I've never seen someone use a crowbar to get a tin of beans open, Tim.
Well, no, you'd use a tin opener for that.
A Tim opener.
You could say
On a day like today, there's people waiting.
You could say that.
See what's in that skull of yours.
We're going to head into brains.
I feel like this is the only day where I could threaten to cut your head open and it feels at least somewhat thematic.
Oh, it's absolutely fine now. It's absolutely fine. Fancy dressing Halloween. It's not a problem at all.
Just not on Wednesday. Not Wednesday.
Coming into round 7 then, it is going to be the flip of the sides. Empire go on to defence. Dan getting quite aggressive on the Mozzie here, playing right outside the kitchen door, knowing that the attackers may try to push in through there. It's going to be a defence of the basement floor, always up on the top, along with Scyther. And the top floor roam really doesn't feel like something G2 particularly committed to, Des. And Empire feeling a lot more confident, maybe. They're up there. They're ready for the gunfights. They've got 3 out on the roam. They're like, bring it on, G2.
Well, again, looking at the setup, it's not the full, like, SSG roam, right? Again, no castle, no vigil. It's much more focused on the ability to roam and be a little more mobile. Citizen, speaking of mobility, is straight inside a kitchen here. Drone at his feet. No one yet actively droning him in, so wants to pause for a couple of seconds. And here comes most of Empire now backing their way back down towards site, not wanting to lose any members, picking up what drones they can, and now they know. Surely they can take out all these pellets, which they'll do, except for one. Not ideal, but you've done the hard work there and got yourself back down to site. You'll waste more time out of Hungry because the drones were taken out. He's now lost both drones, by the way. It's worth mentioning. So inside 70 seconds, 4 drones dead. That's more dead than what Empire had in every single one of their attacking half by this point in the round.
Certainly is now. Citizen just drawn in for himself there, looking to get ahead. He's going to spot out Joystick on the main stairs, but will lose his drone in doing so. The Jaeger heads himself back into sight, and we can see now, apart from Always, who's just remaining on this sort of semi-roam at an absolute push. He's on an elastic band back to sight. As soon as the call comes, he will drop back, but he's just going to hold that angle and see if he can get himself a cheap kill on the tight angle with the shotgun. And it shows a good shotgun player, Des, when they can understand the map like that and think about how can I create short angles. We nearly lose a man inside a kitchen there. Scyther, he manages to find a headshot onto Citizen, and it's all going wrong for G2 once again. They could be facing match point here, Des, if this does not start to pick up in the next minute.
See, the drones saw him as well, so they knew that C4 was coming out. Aptly so, backing away Hungry. Virtue hanging on the near corner. And speaking of, Hungry finds one, I believe, up through the hatch, so a good little shutdown there, but will it get things moving? Because there's still 2 players from Empire holding close. Shepard playing in dirt, 1 inside of Church itself, so a very tight-knit kind of triangle set up between these 3 defenders on the side of Empire. And G2 have got to pick a point to push in now. We're down to 30 seconds. Kayak's going main stairs, 2 dropping Moto. I'm just concerned that they've got 2 players that can very easily contest this.
There it comes. Jonker pushes in, manages to get a kill as Dan swings around and just looks like he's a little bit unaware onto the hatch. Joystick manages to find one. He needs more. He can't. His shots are too high. And the fact that he was crouched just saves the life of Jonker there, who's able to get into sight now and start getting the diffuser down. But before he can trigger the Toxic Babe, the last man is shut down. G2 with a successful attack. And that is a sigh of relief almost, I'm sure, breathed for these players and fans of G2.
I almost feel like you could change the team tags there and it wouldn't have looked any different to a round of Empire's attack, right? It had all the characteristics, quite slow. They left it to the final 20 seconds, weren't quite sure where to push, where to drop, what to do. And then they find 1 kill, which turns into 2, turns into 3, with gunshots on the defensive side. It's almost like it's a curse in this game, Ace. But it is another round for G2. Still 3 behind. Empire still just the 1 to find themselves pushed through into overtime, at the very least, if not onwards towards a win. Gym Bedroom, where we now stop, and stop next, sorry, and the next operators to join the lineup is going to be the Echo, something that's very much a hallmark of the Russian teams, Virtus Pro and Empire, enjoying playing it, normally on maps like Cafe. Here it's going to make an appearance on Clubhouse.
I feel like this is an important round for G2 now. They've got the 1 win on attack, and that being their first round on attack could be a real mental boost. It's like, right, forget about the first half. We've got the win on the attack. We can continue doing this now. We can continue this momentum. We've just had Team Empire do it to us. Maybe Clubhouse plays in favour of the attackers today. Let's get in there and let's get it done. So G2, if they can win another one here, you start surely believing that that momentum has shifted along with the change in half. So this one, for me, is going to be crucial if they want to get themselves back into this. If Team Empire get themselves onto 6 and only only need one. I can't see G2 being able to take 4 in a row and stop them here. So they really need a successful assault, and it's going to be on to Gym and Bedroom this time around. Now, the question is, where will the push come in from? We saw Team Empire not really work the Jacuzzi side too much, Des. They weren't fancying a dip in the hot tub. They wanted to come through construction more than anything.
I think Yonkers missed the... I thought I was going to say he missed the left side and getting it open, so I was like, what's the game plan here? But I think his intent isn't to get it open, it's just to give Hungry some angles to challenge through. So it makes sense. It hasn't got to be perfect in this case. Hungry might just find himself actually sat out here on the east side of the map for a while, because again, your whole purpose there as being the Habana on the rappel is to watch through that hole and stop anyone on the defenders running onto the west window in CC and challenging onto the south balcony. Now, he's left away from that, so if Empire play their cards right here, they could make really good use of that angle to cause a bit of trouble, to be fair.
Hungry's going to start opening up the construction wall, so that is potentially going to cause issues. He's had to do it high up because of the mute jammer that's on there, but that, of course, now is a spherical radius rather than cylindrical, so it just means that it does miss the top corners of those walls, and in what was just a little bit of a nerf to the mute gadgets there, so it's going to allow him to open up, and that obviously just opens up the risk of explosives coming in as well. Now, got the Jacuzzi wall open as well. Jonker and Kayak on the sledge just combining to get that job done, pinging out a mute jammer there. They need to get clear so they can get the drones in, but they need to be careful in doing so because there's a couple of Empire players just looking onto that spot, so smart use of the gadget there is going to allow them to do that. Now, this could be an interesting nade hole as well coming in.
They have got Dan's ADS scattered around there. Surely, in this instance, they are starting to get things opened up. Only 2 went through in the first place. Always finding the opening kill onto Virtue. 0 and 7 in this game. Man, calling James Bond, it's definitely not the day for the thematics, but it's stacking up no matter which way you look at it. Empire now starting to rotate themselves back up and across into sight. They've got the opening they wanted. They've wasted 2 minutes. They've chunked through the utility on the side of G2. It's almost like a dream. As long as you now keep yourselves alive and get back on site, you should be able to play this for trades all the way through to the end.
And Empire being able to move so freely through cash and construction tells us that G2 is not in control of that side of the map. Citizen does manage to get a kill onto Joystick. Jonker's getting this plant down now. This is where the Yokai drones could come in clutch, but they're not going to need to as Dan manages to find the kill, but they're aware that the diffuser is down. The Yokai drone's under the shelf. It's going to stun out Kayak, but they know where it is now. 20 seconds left to go. There could be an opportunity here for G2, but Empire are just playing this super passive, Des. They're just waiting for the opportunity to push up now. Going pro might just save a life here, but it doesn't as Kayak, he's alert and alive to that potential. Citizen with an unfortunate team kill, and that allows Shepard to close out the round. Not like this, G2. Not like this.
It tells you a lot when 3 players are all funneling through the same single doorway in the dying seconds, that things are not going to go well. There's a crossfire set up by Empire. They're literally climbing over a pile of corpses to try and get in the room. And look at how things closed out. The Yokais, again, just proving to be a bit of a nightmare. Empire masters, it feels, at this point. Cafe or Clubhouse? They'll show you how to play with Yokais, Tim. I'll tell you that for nothing.
They certainly will. Dan's kill through onto Jonker as well. Just really important because, obviously, if that diffuser goes down, you've got a different situation there. But then, in the last 20 seconds, G2 have to scramble. And when your team's not playing that well, that's what becomes difficult. Doing those adaptive pushes, doing those late round changes, scrambling, mixing things up, getting in there and getting those final kills. And Team Empire just able to frustrate them. It was close at the end. The team kill, super unfortunate, Des, super unfortunate, but it just allowed Shepard to finish things off there at the end. Now 6-2, it's going to be match point for Team Empire, and they've got 4 chances at this. I'd normally say 4 bites at the cherry, but it could be 4 bites at the pumpkin today, Des.
Fantastic, Tim. Fantastic. It's going to be this CC hole coming out. Seeing always stepping across onto the Kaid. I imagine to electrify both Bay 1 and Bay 2. Keep those walls closed up for as long as possible, which is where Yonker will step in. There was one thought I had in that last round that really, I think, describes how the game has felt at points for G2. It's a game of individual efforts, right? Like Citizen out on the road doing his own thing. Players on site just being bowled over one by one like Skittles at a bowling alley. And the Maverick pushing in from the Jacuzzi wall. Again, Solo open the wall, Solo try and push through. He had a drone there for a couple of seconds. And then they all kind of go, right, guys, get together, main stairs. We've got to push him. We've got to make something happen. It's just a little bit scrappy. It doesn't look as cohesive as what Empires does so far.
This is sort of, I picked up on the fact that Empire were able to rotate back upstairs through cash, through construction so late in the round. You'd normally have some sort of presence, some sort of deterrent there to prevent that being the case. But as you say, G2 had at that point pretty much completely rotated elsewhere, and it's not been an easy game for them, that much is for sure. We'll see if round number 9 gets any easier. Joystick, he's inside a garage right now, just trying to fight off any lower floor push. He's going to get aggressive on towards that blue stairs window as well. He might just find a man if he takes a little peek and a pre-fire here, but he's just going to hold his line. As a defender, he really doesn't need to over-aggress there, but he's going to start sweating in a minute as the pressure mounts. There are 3 directions he's going to be challenged from. A nade comes in, takes a little bit of damage. He fires shots out of the door, can't connect with anybody. He's just aware that the wall is being opened as well. 1 minute 30, Joystick still not dealt with in the lower garage.
He's just moving around for free. Like, when you take a shot or two, then sure, they'll know roughly where you are, and surely you get yourself pinched, but drones are being run into, and they've got 1 drone left, Tim. They've eaten through 9 drones.
2 nades.
Fast into the round. Like, they're chucking everything at him, and he's still alive. They're getting this wall opened up, but here he comes in the challenge. He sees the Maverick. That is the kind of thing you'd see in ranked. 3 are dead. There's nothing else left here. Hungry does find 1 back, but it's a 4 versus 2. Citizen and Hungry, 2 of the players alongside Yonka that have stepped up in this game, but I'm concerned now that with the time they've got left, 60 seconds and only 2 players to do it, that this one is a write-off and Empire walk away the winners.
Joystick just cannot be allowed to get that kill like that. He's been moved around garage. He's had angles on 3 sides of him. Finally, a nade picks him up, but that's the 3rd attempt at an explosive kill. And Des, they still have always on the catwalk, and he finds the headshot. And this was always the problem with Joystick and not clearing him quicker, allowing him to get the kill onto Maverick. He's just had an absolute field day. The last man is down by the door. It's Dan to pick him up, and Empire, they finish out what has been a clinical destruction of G2.
Clinical is the best way to describe it. I can't think of how many times that game we watched always dome Citizen as well. Normally, the X factor for G2 has turned to be the null factor. Very little impact in the game, and the misery for G2 continues to pile up. But for Empire, they continue their ascent upwards. That major basically guaranteed at this point with how things are playing.